Hi guys! I spent more than 2 weeks on the West Coast last year, and I was shocked by many things which are very different from Europe. I know these comparisons are not true for all part of the US and all part of Europe, but you can find these stereotypes in many places. Number 1. Unlike in Europe, public transport networks are not so great in the US. The lines are not so extensive and the buses, trains run less frequently. Probably that is the reason why old or very poor people are using it. They can't drive a car or not afford one. In Europe, all level of the society is using public transport, from young to old, from poor to rich, as this is the fastest way to commute within the city. Unfortunately, most US cities were built after the introduction of the automobile, giving limited to no chance spreading to the public transport networks within the city. The biggest problem is that half of the American population lives in the suburbs. Here, the population density is relatively low, and therefore public transport cannot serve very well these areas. Let's take a look at the map and compare Phoenix and Barcelona. Both cities have a population around 1.5 million. But if you check the area of Phoenix, it is spreading out in a 10 times larger space than Barcelona. So the only thing that could help spreading the public transport is urban development. People have to move to the city and leave the suburbs behind. This is part of another story. So let's just move to our second point. The car rental is cheaper and much easier than in Europe. There are no hidden fees, the second driver is free, you don't even have to pay for extra mileage, and debit cards are just as acceptable as credit cards. The insurance and gas is also considerably cheaper, so it's really worth renting a car if you want to visit the US. Number 3. There are some traffic rules which are very different from Europe. Now I'm not comparing the UK with the US, but I focus on mainland Europe, where also right-hand drive traffic is used just as in America. One of these rules is turning right is generally allowed on a red light. I believe it is a great thing and helps the traffic flow more easily while doesn't add additional danger to the process. In Europe, you can turn on the red light only if there is an additional light which shows a green arrow pointing to the right. Number 4. On the other hand, turning left in the US is a nightmare. Designated left turn traffic lights are rare, and mostly you get solid green, which means you can expect traffic from the opposite direction. I find this extremely dangerous and also can block and slow the traffic. Number 5. The next one is the interchanges. They, especially in the city, are so close to each other that due to heavy traffic and the 5, 6, 7 lanes, it is impossible to change routes. Many of them should be redesigned to be more user-friendly. Number 6. On the other hand, what I find particularly useful is the flashing red and yellow traffic lights. In Europe, when the traffic light is not operating, there is only yellow flashing, and you have to rely on additional signs to decide who has the right of way. But in the US, red flashing is equivalent to a stop sign, while yellow flashing is a free to go. You just have to be cautious. This is something I would like to see to be implemented in the EU as well. Number 7. Let's continue with the intersections. If there are no traffic lights, usually a simple stop sign can tell you whether you have a right of way or not. This is typically used in low traffic, low speed suburban areas. I find this traffic management extremely detrimental, as it stops the traffic every single intersection, which is not just annoying, but it raises pollution levels significantly. And in the US, you really actually have to stop. If all roads have stop signs and 2 cars arrive to the intersection, the go-through is mostly happening in a first-come, first-go basis. This is not the case in Europe. Of course, you can find some intersection with stop or yield signs. Many of intersections are roundabouts, which is one of the best way of traffic management. The traffic doesn't need to stop completely, and even in moderate traffic, it can flow through easily and continuously. The other method what I find is not so great is the so-called right-hand rule. In this case, there are no traffic signs at the intersection whatsoever, and always the car has the right of way which is coming from the right. Number 8. Instead of general signs like this, which means no stopping, priority road, or dead end, Americans for some reason are using words or even sentences, even if many Spanish immigrants don't speak English. I find it really ridiculous that there are no universal standard traffic signs, but they are still communicating with road users in this way. It can slow down the traffic and make it more dangerous, as you need to read the whole thing instead of just quickly looking at the sign. Number 9. The traffic doesn't keep right. Here in the EU, you are obliged to keep right in multi-lane roads, especially on the highway. In this way, faster traffic can easily pass through lower speed traffic. In the US, everybody can go in that lane where they want, which can create potentially dangerous situations on the road. On the other hand, I understand why this is happening in this way. In Europe, if you want to exit from the highway, in almost all cases, you have to leave to the right. In the US, due to these complex and not necessarily well-designed intersections, you can also leave or change highways to the left from the left lane. And our last point is number 10. Highway speeds are considerably lower in the US. And now I don't count the German Autobahn, where there is no speed limit. In most European highways, the limit is 130 kilometers per hour, which is around 80 miles per hour. In the US, I'm at mostly 55, 65 or maybe 70 miles per hour one time in Nevada. It mirrors the lack of organization in the US traffic system, where there are no general and universal speed rules for different environments. For example, in most EU countries, the maximum speed is 50 km per hour in populated areas, 90 outside of populated areas, and 130 on highways. Of course, individual traffic signs can override this, but at least you know what is the general speed limit, and you don't have to search for the signs all the time and worry whether you are speeding or not. Well, this was the first 10 points. Some more are coming in the next video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe. Bye now.